Good morning. Good morning. And welcome to Arlington Congregational Church. And a special welcome to all of our viewers joining us this morning over Facebook Live. Please make sure to check in and let us know you're worshiping with us this morning. Over the last 2 weeks, we collected $186 for Arlington Community Services, our local food bank, through their Super Bowl fundraisers. As printed in the bulletin, the search committee meets each Wednesday at 12 p.m. and a Zoom council meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, February 22nd at 9:30 a.m. We will be providing dinner to Jacksonville Campus Ministries' Food for Thought program on Tuesday, March 1st. The students very much appreciate a home-cooked meal. Please sign up or contact Carolyn if you would like to help out. Our Ash Wednesday service will be held on Wednesday, March 2nd at 7 p.m. in the sanctuary. The imposition of ashes will be offered for those who are wishing to receive it. Now Brad has some announcements for us this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I hope this is not a distraction, but we are trying to help the hearing impaired to see if they can read what we're sending out on Facebook Live and also here in the sanctuary. It's an experiment. Hopefully it goes well today, and we'll see how it works for the future weeks. Two things. We have a minister search underway, and the survey that we have sent out online, and there are copies on the round table as you exit, is really critical to us. I've received a couple dozen reports, and I'm very, very excited about that because it is going to shape our opinion of what minister needs, characteristics we need for our next minister. So do be heard. Please fill out the survey and send it to me, especially those that are at home. We did send out an email to you, and you can print it out and mail it back or drop it off at the office, or you can respond via email if you can print it out, scan it, and send it back. Second and last item is the little coffee hour we're having. Herman likes to call it the little breakfast club that we're generating. Come a few minutes early before the service. Have a cup of coffee, tea, or hot chocolate, and there are some breakfast snacks. There's tables that sit there and a little bit of fellowship. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now Terry has an announcement about eye care for us this morning, right? No?
You want to talk about eye care? Tuesday night is our rally. The network members have been contacted, and I look forward to seeing you on the Zoomcast. Thank you.
As a housekeeping note, the office will be closed tomorrow, Monday, February 21st, in observance of President's Day. Again, welcome. No matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you're welcome here. Let's begin our worship service this morning with our welcome song. Please stand if you're able. Please join me in the opening prayer and the Lord's Prayer. Throughout the ages, O God, you reveal yourself to us. You come to us in the person of Jesus of Nazareth to show us your love and to call us to love one another. You share the church in which we are members of Christ's body and call us to follow in Christ's way of showing mercy, seeking justice, and healing the afflicted. Join us as we share this hour to continue to live, work, and play as a community of those who seek to follow Christ, who continues to show us that you are our Father, who art in heaven. Hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Couple of quick things before we turn to God in prayer. The church office will not be open tomorrow morning. Barbara's going to be out, and I'm going to be out. And that means we won't be having the weekly Bible study, the Monday morning Bible study. So we'll hope to see you the next week for that. But after tomorrow, things should be kind of more back to normal. Let's together turn to God in prayer. Let us pray. The days come and go, dear God, the hours pass. We go about our lives, counting those hours, scheduling our time, trying to keep up with the demands of each day. Some of our days, dear God, are filled with worry and care. We are anxious about friends and families, about ourselves. We look to the future with some degree of uncertainty, never being certain of what will come. And so this morning, dear God, we gather in this place of worship as a fellowship. And we look to you for some degree of certainty. The certainty that comes in knowing that we are loved and cared for, that we have the support of brothers and sisters in our faith gathered around us, that we have the comfort of the fellowship that we share. Help us to utilize these gifts, dear God, in our lives, and help us always to be grateful for them, for one another, and for the gift of life that we receive from you. Help us to be stewards of these gifts, to be stewards of the world that was not given to us to do with as we please, but the world from which we were taken, from which we were created, so that we might care for it and care for the other living creatures that inhabit this earth. Answering your call to watch over and to keep them. For we have not created anything around us, dear God. We did not make our own lives, and we did not all alone and on our own initiative carve out life for ourselves. Help us on this day, dear God, to remember our past, to remember those who came before. And as we as a nation tomorrow celebrate President's Day, to remember the leaders of the past, those who shared with us their wisdom, Sometimes their foolishness. Being human. Help us to remember that past, dear God, and stand firmly upon it. Help us to learn from the mistakes we have made as a nation, as a society, as a people. And help us use those mistakes to avoid them in the future, to grow in wisdom, and to stand solidly on the side of justice, on the side of accountability, on the side of responsibility. And standing on that firm foundation, help us as a people to build a future that is worth inheriting for our children's children's children. On this day, dear God, we pray for the leaders of the nations of our world. We ask that you would be with them, particularly in this time of tension. That war would be averted, that nations would not invade other nations, that people will not be killed for the political gain of others. Help us, dear God, to be a world of people that truly care about the earth and about the lives of those around us, so that the blessings that you give to us and to all the families of the earth would not be given in vain. Help us, dear God, in this community to remember those whose names are listed in our prayer list. Be this week especially with the Covey and the Howe family, and with Wayne Johnson. Bless and keep them. And bless this family, dear God. Watch over and strengthen them. Be with those who serve this congregation and the pastor search committee. Give them insight and wisdom in their work, that they might truly discern with this congregation that one person whom you are calling to come and build that future here in the office of pastor. One who will share with them wisdom of Scripture, its meaning, and its use for us in rightly discerning that meaning. Strengthen that one who will come in these days. Watch over and keep them, that they will be prepared for the work that awaits them here. Be with each of us, dear God, even as we join hearts and minds in prayer to you. Help us to join together as a community of faith, to work, to live, and to play together, that we might share with one another the abundance of life that is ours. Through Jesus, our Christ, in whose grace we pray.
Psalm 37, 1 through 11. Do not fret because of the wicked. Do not be envious of wrongdoers, for they will soon fade like the grass and wither like the green herb. Trust in the Lord and do good, so you will live in the land and enjoy security. Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in him, and he will act. He will make your vindication shine like the light, and the justice of your cause like the noonday. Be still before the Lord, and wait patiently for him. Do not fret over those who prosper in their way, over those who carry out evil devices. Refrain from anger and forsake wrath. Do not fret, it leads only to evil. For the wicked shall be cut off, but those who wait for the Lord shall inherit the land. Yet a little while, and the wicked will be no more. Though you look diligently for their place, they will not be there, but the meek shall inherit the land, and delight in the abundant prosperity.
reading from the Gospel of our Lord Jesus Christ, as it was written, according to the tradition of the church by Matthew, chapter 5, verses 38 through 42. You have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist an evildoer. But if anyone strikes you on the right cheek, turn the other also. And if anyone wants to sue you and take your coat, give your cloak as well. And if anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go also the 2nd mile. Give to everyone who begs from you, and do not refuse anyone who wants to borrow from you. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. We talked a little bit about this text last week, looked together at the first few verses here, in the context of the culture and time of Jesus, who lived in some degree of poverty in the lower class of his society, in a country that was occupied by foreign soldiers, legions of the Roman Empire. And we talked about the honor and shame nature of the culture, that one's position depended upon one's honor within the community, and to lose that honor was a great problem, a great burden for an individual and for the community to whom that individual belonged. I want to continue in that vein this morning and talk about the last half of these few verses with you, where we read that if anyone wants to sue you and take your coat, give your cloak as well. This comes right after the saying about turning the other cheek. The implication here is that if someone is suing you for your cloak, which is the outer garment that a male would wear in this time, in this part of the world, let them have that outer garment, because the implication here is that this person is trying to extract from you in a way that's punitive. Maybe you did something that warrants a legal action, a lawsuit, but to take someone's garment that in this time and place and culture was often used as their only defense against the weather and the elements of nature, well, it just goes to a real kind of a punitive action that is reminiscent not of an eye for an eye, but of the blood feuding that we discussed last week. This is taking from someone over and above what would be just, to taking from that person essentially everything they had and leaving them with nothing. And that's the implication of suing someone for their cloak. And so Jesus says if someone wants to take the coat, give the cloak as well. Now, in this time and place, the cloak was kind of the underneath garment. It was the last line, you might say, between yourself and just being naked to the world. Last line of defense. And so what Jesus basically is saying is if someone wants to come and take your coat, they want to take everything from you, give them all of it. Give them the cloak as well. Now, just like striking somebody on the right cheek and that person offering the left cheek to strike, this seems to us in our day and time and in the context of our culture, well, that what Jesus is saying is just give in all over. Let them abuse you. But in the context of this culture and this time, that's not exactly true. We live in a culture where if we see someone naked, they become embarrassed and ashamed, and they try to cover themselves in some way. Because we don't want to be seen naked. But in the ancient culture, the reverse is the case. In the culture of Jesus' day and in earlier times, if you see someone naked, then you are the one who is humiliated and shamed. You carry the shame of that transaction. We see this acted out in the story of Noah. When his sons see him naked, they are shamed, they are cursed by God for this infraction. So what basically the instructions are here, what Jesus is actually saying is, if someone wants to be profoundly punitive with you to the point of suing to take away your coat, your outer garment, then when it comes time, if they win this suit, for you to surrender that outer garment, give them your undergarment as well, and force that person and every other person gathered to see your nakedness, to see you stripped of everything, so that the shame now goes to that person who is suing and all around. It's a solution, I would suggest to you, to bullying. Bullies get along well because we live in a culture that kind of encourages bullying. If you can have your way with somebody by intimidating them, well, that's okay. And very often what happens, particularly in businesses, is if you can intimidate enough people and get away with enough, then you actually can become quite successful. What Jesus is saying, according to the writer of this story, is let's draw a line. And let's remember again that this is in the context of the Sermon on the Mount, where Jesus is talking, according to the writer of the story, to a crowd of thousands of people like himself. And so there's a kind of a call to community here that Jesus is making to those who occupy the same socio-economic position as he himself. This is the 90 to 94% of all of the people who inhabit this land. So if you become very oppressed, let's work out. I would suggest Jesus is seen in this story to be saying to people, let's work out a methodology by which those who are doing the oppression can be shamed. And let's remember again, this is an honor-shame culture where if you are shamed, then you have great difficulty moving on. And so we go immediately from this kind of strategy where harsh, punitive measures are employed with someone to Jesus saying, if anyone wants to sue you and take your coat, give your cloak as well. And if anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go also the 2nd mile. Now, I ask you to recall that I told you that Jesus lived in an occupied country. And last week, I talked to you about the reality that Roman soldiers could come into the house of a person like Jesus anytime they wanted and demand food, demand some kind of favor. And you would be obligated by threat of force and physical violence to provide for these soldiers. But Romans weren't foolish. They recognized that if they allowed soldiers to go in and abuse people beyond their endurance, well, then there would just be rebellion and death, and who would be left to pay taxes, and there'd be chaos. And chaos is not helpful to anyone. And so the Roman hierarchy, the Roman leadership, created boundaries for these soldiers. And so there was only so much they could ask. And a Roman soldier could force you to carry, well, any kind of burden that the soldier wanted you to carry, but only to a limit. And here, the distance is translated into English as a mile. Yeah, it's good enough. But if the Roman soldier was found to be forcing you to go further than the mile, then the Roman soldier could be brought up on charges of disobeying orders and directives of the superior. And this would gain the soldier some very harsh punishment. Punishment that the average person would want to avoid pretty much at all costs. And I won't go into all of those details, because for our purposes today, all you need to know is that if this soldier pushes someone to go more than a mile in service to him, then that soldier would pay a heavy penalty. So here's the setup. Jesus in this story is teaching to these thousands of people like himself who more than once have been pressed into service of the Roman military and forced to serve them by carrying their supplies, their packs, to labor for them absolutely free. And they do that because they are citizens of an occupied nation. And Jesus says to them, if anyone forces you to go a mile, to go 1 mile, go also the second mile. Now, in the time and place in which this story is occurring, in which Jesus is teaching this lesson, there's no need to describe who would be forcing you to go a mile. Everyone already knows. And probably almost every male in this multi-thousand audience had been pressed into service like this. And so I want you to visualize this scene. A Roman soldier comes and says, here, carry all this stuff for me. And you take these things and you start off walking. And you get about 1 mile down the road, and the soldier knows that it's time for you to give back this stuff, because if you go more than the mile, he can get in great trouble. And so the soldier says, well, give me back my stuff. And you say, no, sir, that's all right. I don't mind. Let's keep going. Now think about it for a minute. How flabbergasted is the soldier going to be? How completely unable to deal with this. What is he going to do? Run you down, tackle you, and start beating you to take back his things? And if someone who has rank over the soldier comes in and says, why are you beating this man? You're going to say to a superior officer, well, sir, he was going an extra mile for me. And the commander, your commander, is going to look at you and say, well, let me get this straight. So you're beating this guy because he was being nice to you? So there's a certain amount of irony here that's almost funny. Because now you're going to look the complete fool, and you're probably going to get in trouble as a Roman soldier. Simply because you've taken this oppression and you've extended it beyond the boundary that the oppressor wanted. By being nice, you turn the tables. Just like if you hold out your left cheek and say, hit me again. This doesn't just equalize. This turns it all around. And every step of that second mile you take changes you from an oppressed person into one now who's of equal standing to the soldier who's walking by you and saying, no, that's okay, just give me back my stuff for God's sake. Because for God's sake, we're going to walk that second mile. And imagine for a moment, if you will, what would happen in an occupied nation if every male who could be oppressed into this kind of service, oppressive service, if you'll excuse the redundancy, would suddenly start being nice and going that second mile. It would create a certain amount of chaos, which the Romans really wanted to avoid. And so we ended up with these words: give to everyone who begs from you, and do not refuse anyone who wants to borrow from you. I want to suggest to you this morning that this is hyperbolic language. It's very common in the Gospels. Jesus is here being represented as using hyperbole to make a point. Because I would suggest that at every turn, what's being said is not really what's being said. It's got a meaning behind it that we can't understand unless we know the culture and we know the times and we know the setting. Unless we know the context, we cannot understand these verses. And so what Jesus is saying, I would suggest, is very subversive in the context of the Roman rule and occupation and oppression. Because Jesus is saying, look, if we will be kind to one another, if we will give to one another, if we will not refuse one another, if we will be that community that God has called together, then those who would come and oppress us individually cannot do it. But if we start tearing each other down, then we just give aid to the Romans who want us torn down. This little passage ends with this, kind of flowery, give to everybody, don't refuse anything, just go on. And it kind of completes this teaching that says, take another hit. Don't just give the outer garment, give the undergarment as well. Don't just walk 1 mile, walk 2. But in every turn, if you play it out on the stage of social and legal interaction, this is radically subversive material. Jesus is here, according to the writer of the story, laying out basically a guideline of how to turn the table on your oppressors and how to move from being a victim to one who is equal to those who would oppress us. And at the end of the day, what he's saying is, just think. Just think. Rather than organizing rebellion, rather than using violence to fight violence, because the Romans get violence, what they don't get is kindness. And because they don't get kindness, they don't get justice. And so the way they hand out justice is a little skewed. But if we treat them in this way, then it'll change everything. And so I would suggest to you that at the end of this text, there's a little question that gets asked of those people to whom Jesus was speaking and to everyone who has read this text for the last, 1600, 1800 years or so. And that question is, how much really do you want the kingdom of God to come into the world today? Because all we have to do is do something a little different in regards to those whom we see as enemies, and all the percentages which start to change. And that change will make a different future. And that change will start the day we decide to do something a little different. In the name of the God who is the Creator, the Redeemer, and the Sustainer of us all. Amen. I charge you to go from this place into the week that will be made for you, to live in joy and abundance of life that is your inheritance by being a child of God. And as you go, take with you the love, the grace, the peace, and the blessing of God, who is the Creator, the Redeemer, and the Sustainer of us all. Amen.